So we'll call the meeting order 3:37. Everybody on, is there another page or?
I was gonna record, so let me know when to record.
Go ahead, yeah. No, we're in session.
Donna, I'm already recording.
Okay.
Galen, you're all set, right? You said?
Yep, I'm good to go.
Okay. So it's 3:30, yeah, 3:37. We have a full board today. I think is Laura still there? Is she gone? Oh, Laura's there. Okay.
I'm here.
Everybody on TV has a name. Dale, can you just, if you can, either add your last name or tell us who you are? Dayle. Thank you. And like, there's couple people that are like, there that don't have names. There's 3 across the bottom. Do we know who that is?
Oh, it's all the girls from the Girl Scouts.
Well, no, there's a boy in the middle.
Yeah.
Hey, we got somebody driving their car with like a sunroof, and we got somebody with your hand in front of the camera, like you're blocking it, you're wearing a hat. And I don't see what the third person is.
That's, no, it's, Shed.
This is Chantel Albin. I'm on Zoom.
Okay, can you just write that?
Yep.
And then who's the middle one who's now, I can't see.
I'm Justin Albin. I'm on.
Okay. And who's the next one over? Is anybody?
Oh, Kim Meeker.
Kim Meeker, okay.
Yep.
Meredith, we'll get you a list from here and the 3 people that don't have names, okay?
Thank you.
Okay, so Bob, you were checking on some stuff with the attorney for us. You want to let us know what you found out?
Yeah, so the attorney described the fact that the law is the law and that there are no emergency type exemptions for that. And so we will be limited if we want to follow the law to public schools and to adjacent districts. So those are the 2 things that he said, that there's just no other way around that. That's what the law allows for, and that's the case. So.
Okay, go ahead, Chad.
Bob, just a question on the adjacent. Did the attorney clarify which districts those would be?
Yeah, so we had that calculated before, and I believe we identified Marlboro. It's anything adjacent to either of the River Valley's towns. So Marlboro, the Twin Valley, what would be Twin Valley Middle School district, and the West River district. That the other 2 towns that border your towns are Somerset and Stratton, which do not have operating public schools. Therefore, those would really not qualify. And the rest are made up of the other 3.
Okay, so it's not the districts that they encompass as sending towns, but physically the geographic borders that have a school that can be occupied.
Yeah, I guess that's one way of putting it. Yeah. Yep. And and then West River, and same with Twin Valley, the only school that has 6th grade would be Twin Valley Middle and Leland and Gray. Marlboro, of course, is K8, pre-K8 actually.
You all set, Chad? Okay, so I think we left it as they were going to continue to try to hire somebody, but we want to set a date so that if they didn't hire anybody, we didn't have another like month go between finding out that we couldn't hire anybody. So Bob, can we still then, even though you're looking at a hiring process, can we still make a motion that if nobody's hired by a date certain, that we move the 6th grade to Dover and then be able to allow parents who want to petition for tuition, then they could do that on that whatever date certain that we decide to.
Yeah, Yeah, I think you can do that. And again, keep in mind, you can also rescind anything that you do later on. So, for example, I think that we do have a couple of candidates that Donna is moving forward into the interview process. But that takes a little bit of time. And then, of course, having them interviewed doesn't mean they're hired. You have to do background checks, onboarding, all that. If we were to hire one of them. So that date that you set, if we have a candidate or we're moving forward with that candidate, we probably want to even undo that, right? So we want to allow the maximum flexibility so that our number one option is to keep the kids there with a 5-6 teacher. As long as everyone understands that going in, you can make whatever motions you want and then rescind them later if you need to, if we did find another solution. So yeah, that's what I would recommend.
Okay, so with that in mind, if you're gonna be doing interviews towards the end of the week, do you think if there was a candidate that was chosen that looked appropriate for the school, could that be something that we would know about by Monday night's meeting?
Donna, with your timeline, does that seem with background checks, that's something you'd be able to reasonably conclude by Monday?
I think it may be pushing it. I would pause on like having a little bit more time. I mean, if background checks, your reference checks, not background checks, right?
Correct. Reference checks.
It could be possible. But if the hiring committee needs more time to kind of unwrap it, I don't want to be pushed to a decision quickly. So maybe more time.
So let's just review real quick, Bob, the hiring process, because the board doesn't hire teachers.
Right.
He's aware in the room that we have some candidates.
Okay, well, let's just deal with this. So the board doesn't hire people. The application process is still open, correct?
That's correct.
It was open till filled.
Yep.
So why don't you and Donna review the hiring process so everybody's aware of how that works?
Yep, Donna, so basically we have a posting when we find some candidate or candidates that we like. We set up an interview. Obviously the timing of that might take a couple days. People might need notice, depends on how far away they are traveling for the interview. We need time to put together a committee, make sure we have coverage if there's staff involved to get them out of the classroom if it's during the day. So like there's a lot of logistics that go into that. And I think Donna has a couple of times and dates set up in this current week, right, Donna? Is that correct?
Yes. This Friday and next Monday.
Yeah, so let's say best case scenario, you come out of Monday's interview with a lead candidate and you start doing some background checking. That could take a couple of days, depending on how quickly people get back to you and so on and so forth. So Wednesday, Thursday is probably more reasonable as far as like being able to make an offer to a candidate. And maybe even Friday is a good date to have. Is like if we don't have a viable candidate by next Friday, that means that nobody really came out of the two. And that assumes we haven't had any new applicants along the way as well. But that's the basic overview of what it would look like.
Okay, so the board doesn't have to approve. The board only gets to approve hiring of an administrator. The superintendent brings us a candidate and we get to say yay or nay. How does that work with a teacher?
A teacher, I believe you have authorized the board chair to sign contracts, right? And so I'm trying to remember if that's River Valleys does that, but my suspicion is that I'm offering a position, or technically Don is offering a position with my office's approval, and then the contract comes to you guys to be signed, but that's after the fact.
Right, so you guys can actually hire somebody without needing to have a board meeting.
Correct. Yep.
Okay. Laura, go ahead.
Yeah, just wondering if it makes, I'm not gonna ask this as a question. So what I am thinking about right now is a time frame for when we want this situation to be resolved for the kids, and then asking questions around that. So for instance, I am thinking about December 1, or which is a Friday. So on December 4th, or November 27th. That's what is in my head and where I would like to frame questions around for the administration, if that's a reasonable time frame, if that is doable, what are the impediments? And that is just motivated by wanting to make sure the parents have some surety and the kids about when this is going to be resolved. So not really a question, just something that I'm thinking about and wondering about. Thanks.
So Laura, what we talked about at the last meeting was to make a motion to close the 6th grade in Wardsboro if no viable candidate is found by a certain date. And then that would give the parents time enough to petition the board for tuition if they would like their child to go to a different school. And we were clarifying what schools they can go to, which Bob just did that for us. And we were shooting for having it happen right after Thanksgiving break.
Okay, so what I'm talking about in terms of a time frame. So
Yeah,
great.
so we kind of, that we've bounced that around. We were hoping that we would know if there was a viable candidate by Friday so that parents could petition on Monday's regular board meeting if they don't like the Dover option. Am I correct with those that you were here?
I think that's correct, Rich. I think they could petition contingent upon a hire, and you guys could approve contingent on a hire as well, right? So, if the hire takes till Wednesday or Thursday, and that ends up being what we do, then those would go away. Those requests would potentially go away because you now have staffed the position. You could create a language, something like that, to help cover the bases.
Can I ask another question while I have my hand up, Richard?
Yeah, so you put it down.
Yeah, I could. So this petitioning, if I recall correctly, is something that's available even if we had a 6th grade teacher in Wardsboro. Parents can always come and petition for kids to go to another public school. And so I just want to confirm that that's correct. And if it is, just be clear about that not being something that any parents have to wait for if they want to petition to go to Dover or Twin Valley or Leland and Gray.
Okay, so to go to Dover, if we hire.
That's an internal thing.
Hang on a sec, yeah, if we hire a person, they can still petition to go to
Yep.
Dover. We have a process. So they would have to appeal because they didn't follow the process. The process requires them to do that last year. So they could ask for I don't want to call it a variance, Bob, you'll tell me what it's called, but I think there's an item in the policy that allows them to petition, because of extenuating circumstances.
Yeah.
And actually, Rich, because that's actually the procedure part, it's not the actual policy, it's the procedure. It would really just be an administrative appeal, not even a board appeal.
Okay, so there, we got that answered. I think, and I don't want to speak for the members that were here last week, we were trying to make it so parents don't have to jump through a lot of hoops, and also so there can be some clarity on what's happening for them and their student. We also talked about giving parents an ability to possibly go and maybe visit the different schools that are, because there's only 3 options available. And then that way they could visit that with their student or possibly set up a school-wide visit for those students so that they have an idea what's going on at the school they may possibly want to go to.
Yeah. So go ahead.
I was gonna say about the first part of that question, Laura, I think if I'm understanding correctly, what you're asking is, does that statute cover just anybody asking at any time, right?
Yeah, I think it does.
It actually, but the part of it that makes it allowable under the statute is that it has to be based on geographic consideration. and it has to be, you have to deem it basically as more convenient to furnish the education here than at the home school. So for example, you have, because Wardsboro wouldn't have 6th grade, now all of a sudden it might be more convenient geographically to go somewhere else. And that's the loophole. If you had a family in Wardsboro, it's unlikely that one of those adjoining districts would be more convenient for them just based on geography, but I suppose it's possible depending on where they live. But it is a specific thing around geographical consideration and the more conveniently furnished at the second school than at the home school.
Yeah, so this is my last statement, and I'll put my hand down and shut my mic off. My question is completely centered around, I wasn't at the last meeting, unfortunately, but in the previous meetings, I've heard parents express some anxiety about wanting a decision sooner rather than later. And so I'm trying to understand if I think we are taking appropriate steps to make sure that, we do all of the right things and try and, provide as much assistance as possible. But if there are parents that are sure, for instance, that they do want to go to Leland and Gray, like, do they have to wait for us to go through this process? So if we hired a 6th grade teacher, could they still say at this point, that's where this is coming from? Just if there are parents that are sure and that they want one of the options that's available to them, could we unleash them and let them go make that choice if that's a priority for them? So.
I mean, I think you could. It would be the board's discretion that it's more that you're following that statute specifically. But yeah, I think you could. My sense was, from what I understand from Donna, she can correct me if I'm wrong, is that I'm fairly certain that everybody involved would prefer to stay at Wardsboro if a suitable candidate was found, but I could be wrong on that.
Yes, you are correct, Bob.
And there's also, they want to stay together as a group because they've been a group for a long time. So those were, that there was, I think last meeting, Laura, there was actually a parent.
There's a few of them here.
No, but wasn't there a parent last week? I don't know. Did somebody say they want the kids to stay as a group no matter where they went to?
Oh, yes, there was. Yes,
I
there
thought,
was.
yeah, so
If they can.
if they
but-
can.
But it doesn't always, it may
Yeah.
not.
Okay, so I think Laura, you're all good, right? Because you lowered your hand. Are you folks all good? So are we pretty clear on where we stand today?
Can I recap it?
Sure, see if
Okay.
we got it right.
See if I have it right and if I'm
Okay.
understanding it. So what I understand is that today we might make a motion to set some timelines and some things so that if these candidates that we have coming forward in the next week and a half
Or any future ones.
or any future ones are not going to pan out by the timeline that we set today, we have a path forward. But if for some reason one of them works out, then we can turn it back and move forward with.
Well, I think the motion, we can make the motion to be
Yeah.
that if no suitable candidate is found by a certain date, that we will close the 6th grade in Wardsboro and move those students to the Dover building. And then parents can petition to go to one of the other 3 schools that are available to them. But I think that was a little bit, we pushed on a little bit, because it's extenuating circumstances. It's not the norm. Could they be allowed to go to a school that they would be attending in the 7th grade? And that was what we asked Bob last Monday to check into. And Bob got a pretty quick answer back, I believe, that that wasn't available to us, correct, Bob?
That's correct.
And we were hoping that maybe because it's not anything of our doing and it's not something that, that maybe there would be a little leniency in most peculiar, but it doesn't sound. I guess they're in Barry, they're not in Montpelier. The Board of Ed, or I mean, the Department of Education. Are you guys all good then? What?
Yeah, I think I understand what Kate's saying and the process that's currently in front of us. What I'm wondering is if I kind of like to see another option, if that's available to us using the resources we have to keep the sixth graders in Wardsboro. And I don't know, if obviously this is what the administration's given to us already. But I'd like to see another option where we can use the resources we have to keep the kids in Wardsboro that are here now. I don't feel comfortable voting on a deadline where parents are sweating out every day with the thought that at that deadline, they got to pick where they're going to go next. I'm not comfortable with that. I understand that's the option and we can vote on that. That's fine. I just don't feel comfortable with it. I'd rather just, well, I'd rather see another option or just, see what else is out there.
Thank you.
I just hope one of the candidates is a rock star.
Well, that's
You're
the
a
hope.
rock stars. You know a lot of rock stars. Hey, Chad, are you good?
Yeah. As far as the sixth graders are concerned, absolutely. But I do have the question, if we do wind up closing that sixth grade classroom, are the fifth graders that are currently enrolled at Wardsboro absolutely set in stone with what their trajectory will be?
Yes, it was discussed at the last meeting. Donna has worked with Val and they're gonna do a 3, 4, 5 with a full-time classroom aide, and Donna working on her specialty in language arts with the 3, 4, 5. And they hit up Val off the cuff after a exciting field trip. And, she basically said that she was aware of it. It wasn't a surprise, and that it was 2 more students than you had last year, I think you said. That kind of a good summary?
Yeah, it's not ideal, but it is,
Doable.
yeah. I mean, it's been
So
done.
I appreciate that it was discussed, but has it been determined, or is that going to be part of the motions that we put forth today as a board?
No, we would not be putting that motion forward. That's an administrative function.
Okay.
We don't operate the school. We don't tell people what
Okay.
classes they're in and what grades they get to teach.
But my point being that if we're closing that grade and telling the sixth grade families what their options are, then it would seem that the fifth graders should also have options as well, because their classroom is also getting closed.
No, they're not. Their classroom's getting combined with the 3, 4 for a 3, 4, 5 classroom.
I think he means for the following year. like
Well,
going-
no.
No. I
again-
don't mean for the following year. I mean for right now, because we have 2 different classrooms, 2 different aged, classes that, and again, it's, I'm grateful for Mrs. Bills to step up and I know that she is extremely capable, and the administration, but, again, if the sixth graders are going to have a choice because their classroom is getting closed, then I think it would be fair to the fifth grade parents to also have a choice. So they should, in my humble opinion, be able to follow under that geographical concern as well, because that classroom is being closed.
No, so Chad, it's not being closed. It's being reorganized. That's different.
But
So
the wording that I've heard already in this meeting is that if we close the sixth grade classroom, and very specifically from Bob on down, I've heard the word close. So that closure also applies to the fifth graders. And I appreciate the reorganization as an option. But again, if going to Dover is an option, and also going to an adjacent school district is a possible option, it would seem that the fifth graders should have that same choice. Those families should have that same choice.
So, Chad, we're not closing the fifth grade. We're just closing the sixth grade.
It's no longer being offered. Sixth grade is no longer being offered.
Correct. Sixth grade is no longer being offered in the Wardsboro building. It's only being offered in the Dover building. That's what we're doing. And I think, and I know, Chad, it wasn't one of your things, but I think we were all clear. And again, I know it's hard coming in after it's been discussed a few times. But we also, it's a temporary for the balance of this year. That was the other thing we wanted Bob to stress, because we got an original opinion that we couldn't do it without votes of the electorate of both towns. And, we were looking at a 6 or 9 month process, which was crazy. But if it's just because of the way this was kind of stuck upon us, it's a path forward that we weren't sure that we would have. Okay?
All right.
And so again, it's just, and we need to make sure that's in the motion for the balance of this year. It's definitely the intent, and the feeling was that it'll be easier to find a 5-6 teacher if the current one doesn't return, and they were giving us notice if they're returning or not earlier than required under contract, so that we can plan ahead and we can get that out there. It's usually a little harder to fill a position for somebody to come over for a part-time position that may not be available to them next year. That creates a smaller pool. And this time of year, most everybody's contracted, and that usually creates a smaller pool. So, there's a lot of strikes against us up front. We're going to bat with 4 strikes instead of just like 1 or 2. Are you all set, sir? Okay, Laura, you all set? Okay, so Kate alluded to it, but Donna, if you want to talk, you do have people that have applied,
Correct.
and they seem like viable candidates from your review of resumes.
Yeah.
Okay, and you and Bob are working on a hiring process,
We are.
so that's in the works, but you have interviews for the end of the week. Okay, so we wouldn't know anything till maybe the middle of next week.
Correct.
Okay. Is everybody good with that? Okay. I would open it up to members of the public now that we had our chance and staff. So there's somebody who's
Chantel.
Chantel. Okay, hang on a second. There's a person with just a J on the screen. Can you just tell us who you are for our minutes?
So in the participant list, if
Oh.
Meredith scrolls through that, usually like
There's a J up
So
there.
it just says
Yeah.
Justin.
Justin's. Oh, there you go.
Where it just says
Jacinda.
Justin.
I'm Justin Albin, is that it?
No, there's a J. It's Jacinda right
Oh,
there.
no.
D-Lee.
Not
Okay,
me.
thank you. So after our training the other day, if you can just give us your name and what town you're from, please. So who do we have? Right, well, somebody wants to speak, so I'm just, if you're gonna speak,
Yeah.
you have to say who you are and what town you're from.
Yep.
Go ahead on TV, and then we'll get people inside.
Go ahead, Chantel.
Okay, hi. So I'm Chantel Albin. We reside in Townsend, but our child goes to Wardsboro. I have 2, I guess, requests. One is around the hiring process. I don't know if asking candidates to come in and do a mock lesson for students and getting student voice on how they felt about the candidate is something that your district does. We do that in my district, and I find that very valuable to see. A person will interact very differently in front of a bunch of adults than they will in front of students. And then my second thing is just, I guess, a request for clear communication as far as the plan moving forward as far as like who's with our children from day to day. Because it was my impression after coming to the last several meetings that Donna was going to be kind of like the homeroom teacher and take over, Sam's kind of position, and then Valerie was going to do math. But my son has been coming home more times than not saying that Mr. Kevin is back and filling that role again, which is, it's great. He likes Mr. Kevin, but, I was under the impression that, Donna was the teacher, or, however you want to phrase it, and that we wouldn't be having substitutes in and out. I thought there was like more consistency going to be happening for them. And it doesn't seem like that's happening.
Okay, thank you. Anybody here? Questions, comments? No? Okay. What do y'all want to do?
Wait.
Is that an option to wait?
You
or-
can do
or
nothing,
should
but
we
I think
move
that
forward with a
the
motion?
2 weeks
And
ago, the
fine.
parents came to us and wanted to know what was happening. They wanted a path forward. So I don't, we can wait. Laura's got her hand up, or we can make a motion that is contingent upon not finding somebody, so at least it lets parents kind of have a backup plan without us having to meet, but we do meet again next Monday. We can meet every Monday for the rest of the year.
I think that,
No.
I think that option, yeah, well, that option you mentioned doesn't need to be voted on, and we could do it at any time. We could do that next Monday.
What's that?
The option to
But there's no clarity, Dwight,
no
that
clarity.
it
I know, I
passed.
understand the clarity,
So-
but that option,
So
If
if we
that's
make a
basically on
motion and
Monday,
it
could be done.
passes, and people at least know where our intent is.
well, that option.
Because again, I used to be able to read the board. I can't even read the board anymore. So,
Yeah,
who knows if it'll even pass? Then I don't know what we do. So,
I've said what I'd like to see is another option.
okay, we've asked them for 3 weeks to have options, and there aren't any other options out there that don't totally disrupt the entire system for everybody. Or for a lot greater people. Laura, go ahead.
So, Bob, can you, you came in with a recommendation for us, is that right? And then we
Yeah,
can ask questions.
last time I had a date, and I think we were talking, I think my recommendation was to take the vote this week. And then by, next Monday, you'd be potentially having, parents come forward with requests, which again, you could table or rescind or whatever the motion at that time if we had a candidate. I think by Monday, even if we don't have a lockdown candidate, we might have a better sense of someone who's made it through the first round. It looks decent. And like if we follow Chantel's suggestion, for example, that's going to take even more time, which is fine. But that it just means that, but we might know by Monday, like, yeah, we have someone or we have 2 people that actually are worthy of bringing in to do a lesson or some other type of thing. So I think my original suggestion was to vote today so that you'd have some clarity to move forward on and give parents time to kind of like explore what those options could look like, visit schools, do all those things. And then next Monday, be able to kind of hear from parents on where they want to go.
Well,
But at that time, we didn't have 2
to,
candidates, so.
the parents would have to come forward next Monday to petition the board, and the board has to vote on an individual basis for each parent
Right.
to allow them to do that.
They could come
They could-
forward.
They could, or they could come and ask to do that if the candidate or candidates aren't acceptable or don't pass muster, or however you want to put it, or aren't hireable or don't want to work here after they come and visit.
Yeah, so the 2 things that are really important to me, as a longtime board member are that and this is a situation we have never been in. And so thank you everybody for, working to keep it together and come up with the best solutions. For me, the 2 principles are it's our job as boards to hire excellent educational leaders. And we have all new leaders this year. And so I'm looking to Bob, who's been working with our administrators. That's number 1, to follow the advice of our educational leaders. As a parent myself, I really am here. I've heard the parents' concerns, so making sure that parents are really aware of what their options are right now, and that the administration is hearing what their needs are in terms of their kids. So let's see what happens. I am going to move that what is the motion that I'm making, Bob, if I am following your recommendation actually?
Well,
So I
Laura,
guess you.
Laura, hang on 1 second. Is everybody else besides Laura all set? Is there anything
Well,
else you need to know?
I think I can make a motion, Richard, and see if there's a second, and then there can be discussion. And
Yeah.
that's what I'd like to do. But I'd like to
Okay.
make the appropriate motion.
Right, that's why I'm thinking that we should get a little more advice on what the appropriate motion should be before we make it and then have to keep remaking it. Is that okay?
I'd like to move Bob's recommendation is what I'd like to move.
Okay. You ever, I mean, I don't,
Do you want me to try to say something and then people can jump in?
yeah.
Yes, and my motion may fail, but I would like to make a motion to follow Bob's recommendation.
And I might disagree with my own recommendation in a second.
Well,
Yeah, and I'm not gonna allow that as a motion, Laura, because it's not very specific, and I think we need to be a little bit more specific. So, if no suitable
Candidate is found by, then we have to name a date.
found.
well, I didn't actually make a motion. I'm looking for the language to make a motion.
Okay. So hang on a second. If no suitable candidate is found by what's next Friday?
Next Friday
Friday.
November
is,
6th. Next Friday.
No, it's Monday.
November 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. By November 10th. November 10th. Then the Wardsboro 6th grade will be closed for the remainder of the 23-24 school year. Just hang on one second, I'll get it. But that's where I had it.
or
a
we
minute
talked
ago.
about doing it when they get back from
Well,
Thanksgiving. and
that's,
transition.
hang on a second, remainder of the 23-24 school year. And move the students to the Dover building starting, when they come back from vacation,
11/27.
starting 11/7. So that's all we need. And then, so Bob, how does this sound? You there?
I am.
Okay, if no suitable candidate is found by November 10th, 2023, then the Wardsboro 6th grade will be closed for the remainder of the 23-24 school year. What?
I'm not sure.
Remainder of the 23-24 school year, and the students will be moved to the Dover building starting 11/27. That's the Monday after Thanksgiving. Does that sound right?
That sounds consistent with what the conversation has been. Yep.
Okay. Is everybody,
Later, but we're getting a later.
What?
I don't know if I'm allowed to speak.
hang on a second,
Okay.
let's just get something
Okay.
down pat, and
Okay,
before
I'm
we
gonna-
vote, we're gonna
Yeah.
allow
Yeah.
some
Okay.
input, okay? I'm not
Okay.
meaning to be mean.
I'm gonna move that question for the purposes of then having a discussion about that question.
Okay, so Laura, you'd like to move that, what I just read. If no suitable candidate is found by the November 10th, 2023, then the Wardsboro 6th grade will be closed for the remainder of the 23-24 school year. And the students will be moved to the Dover building starting 11/27. So Laura made that motion. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second that motion.
Okay, so Kate will second it. So now we have discussion. Go ahead, Laura. You get to discuss first since you made the motion.
I actually said what I needed to say. You know, I want to follow the advice of our educational leaders and make sure that we are hearing the needs of our parents and doing everything we can for them and the students that is reasonable and legal in this moment. So we'll see where this goes. Thank you.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so before we do move forward on voting on this motion, I would just like to get some feedback from the parents of the sixth graders.
We'll have
at
them
Wardsboro.
discussion after, right?
But I wanted to make sure.
Yeah, let's make sure the board's all set first. Go ahead, Chad.
My question as far as timing goes, when does the first semester end? And does it make sense to have a clean start for these sixth graders should they need to move at the start of a new semester? Is that more difficult, less difficult? So I think input from Donna, Bob, Tracy would be fantastic.
Well, and I want to expand on your question a little bit too. folks, if we could just, I want to expand on your question too, because I think it's important to know when the three other schools that could possibly receive the students, also when their semester ends, because that's a good point. We may want to take that into consideration. And we could adjust the motion to affect that or to cover that. Dwight or Mike, you got anything?
I just want to know the input of the
Yeah,
parents.
we're gonna get to them.
I mean, I've said my opinions already on this. I don't feel comfortable with it. I think it's a bit rushed. I also feel it pigeonholes us in a situation. I'd much prefer to see the sixth graders in Wardsboro stay here in their classroom and find a better temporary solution while we continue to look for a replacement. That's my opinion.
Okay, and we've had 3 meetings to discuss that. and
I think
We haven't had
I think we
a
can do
better
more. I think
solution.
we can do more.
Okay. So folks, it's gonna be open to the public and then the board will get to speak about it afterwards because the public can't amend a motion, but the board can. So I think I said you were first, yeah. And then I'll get to you, I'm sorry.
I
And
can't,
who are you?
oh, sorry, Lisa Valentine, sixth grader. I have a sixth grade student in the school, in Wardsboro. I would like to see the date pushed out to, I don't know, maybe the 20th, or I think that's the Friday before the Thanksgiving break. Just because I would like to be able to, should these two candidates not work out, which we all have our fingers crossed, I would like to be able to keep applications coming in case something does. I want a miracle. So I'd like to see I'd like to see it open as long as possible, and should it work out, it works out. So I just don't want to, I want to give us a little bit of extra time if we can.
Thank you.
I'm Allison Young. I am a Stratton resident, but I have a son in the 3, 4, possibly 5, 6, whatever's happening here, here at this school. And I think I'm just looking for more points of clarity on the logistics of what is transpiring currently for my child in his classroom. How is it's all contingent upon, he's in the 4th
Okay.
here. So he's in Valerie's class, and my daughter is in Dover, which I know is confusing, but more points at it's all contingent upon the hiring process. There's been discussion of a para or an assistant of some kind going to Val's class, but that hasn't been discussed yet. What is the hiring committee? Are they in
That
place?
was discussed last week. You remember Val said she has a pair in the classroom.
I don't think she has.
No? Oh, I thought you said you had somebody.
That was one thing that I said I was,
Oh,
if I was going to consider this, that I needed to have.
I'm sorry.
So
that's
I
my
kind of
fault.
want to know what my son, does he right now, as we're pushing the date out further, is my son, which I'm not saying we shouldn't do. I would like a point of clarity on that. Is he in class with 3, 4, 5, 6? Is he I'm not quite sure how this is working. And then we've got substitutes. Can we get a point of clarity on that?
Is there anybody else? Go ahead.
Yeah, just Janine Plimpton, just want to reiterate that we do want our kids to stay here. We just wanted the option, or to know what our options were, more or less. And I do feel like it'll be a little hard for them to jump in somewhere mid-semester. And I know probably most semesters end about mid-January in a lot of schools, I believe, if I'm not incorrect.
Right.
So, I mean, we're still looking, that would still be a while if that's the case, but if things are working here, I'm okay with that, that's fine. But just as a date, as far as semesters, it's generally about mid-January.
Yeah, it's January 17th.
Yeah, so is it working now? That's the other
Okay.
piece of that.
No.
Sorry. So sorry.
But I mean, yeah.
Oh, I'm
No,
sorry.
go ahead.
What, time out. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Go ahead,
and
you finish.
also I do like what Dwight is saying, and I know you guys did come up with a lot of options, but have they all been discussed? I mean, I personally don't know how the Dover school works. I know we're supposed to be an equal district. Is there something that can shift a little bit to allow us to have one staff member come here to be able to keep our 5 kids? I mean, we're talking about 5 kids. It's a handful, and to uproot all this for 5 kids is that's a little heartbreaking.
Thank you. Just wanted to
Amanda Jordan, parent and staff member in Wardsboro. I had a question. Dwight, you kept saying you want to explore all the options. I'm just curious if you have one in mind that hasn't been explored.
Is that okay?
We're not doing back
Okay,
and
that's
forth.
fine.
so-
That's my question. And then the other is around the language of the motion. You said to close the classroom, but then when Chad needed clarity, you actually rephrase that as we will not be
No,
offering.
the motion states is that we close the 6th grade. It doesn't say closing the classroom. It just
Okay,
says
I
closing
just
the
want to make
6th
sure
grade.
that language was.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to take time and write it down, so we were all on the same page. Okay? Anybody else? You had, I think you want to say something?
Well, yeah, many things, but I don't know where to start. I will reiterate, I agree with Dwight. I've been wishing that we could somehow find a staff member that I know it would be terrible to have them move from Dover or even Wardsboro. We're part of this whole bigger SU. I just would like that too versus having our kids that have been here 8 or 9 years and having them leave in the middle, I know is not for any of us to want. But there was that, and then I guess I'm just stepping back to the last meeting where I remember hearing that there was a person of interest. And now all of a sudden there's applicants, so I guess I just want to hear. So did that person of interest turn into an applicant, or these 2 applicants that just applied? I guess I would like to hear the follow-up from Monday, because I guess I just don't know.
Okay. Anybody else? Any questions? Okay, so I think the application process, I mean, it's open. You're gonna
okay.
see applications. I don't think it is appropriate for the administration to tell you who they are or
No,
what
that's
they are.
not-
That's, we could definitely, if we want to push the date out, we can amend the motion. Somebody can make a motion to amend the motion and do a different date. Dwight, is talking about other options, as is Jen. I think, again, we were also told by parents that, they wanted some clarity and they want to know what was going on because we were losing time. And, there was actually some comments made that, that it's like not even having my child in school. So that was the reason we're having all these meetings. If time is not of the essence, then, I mean, I'm not sure why we're trying to push something. So I think that I would like to just throw that out, and I'm not sure where we stand. I mean, if I was under the impression the parents were asking us to do something like 3 weeks ago, and now it almost sounds like they're not. So I'm not sure where we want to go as a board. So why don't we go through, if there's anybody else that would like to comment, I know you want to say something on the board, and then we'll come back to parents and staff, okay? Is there anybody from the board that'd like to make a comment? Laura, go ahead, and then Kate, if you want to.
I see Bob also had his hand up, Rich, but I would
Okay.
just say my understanding is the same as yours. And, if parents are feeling like they're more comfortable with what's happening at the school now in terms of direction, that is new information for me.
Okay, Bob, let me go to Kate and the other board members, and I'll come back to you, sir. Go ahead.
My job here today is to do what's in the best interest of the students and their education.
No, I'm sorry. I tried to get a 5, sorry.
But I'm also I'm part of what I know is coming from the parents, and I want to respect what you guys are saying. So I appreciate you taking the time to come and provide feedback. And if that's what you're sharing, that this isn't super urgent and you don't want us to take action today, if you would rather have us wait and cross our fingers and hope this works, we can, that is a direction that I'm okay taking. But just wanted.
Right, you want to add anything to your?
I don't have any magic ball. I don't have any ideas. I do trust in the administration. I do feel that we did give them a task to find a solution that gave the parents an opportunity to send their kids somewhere else if possible, and they did that. However, it's not a great option, and people aren't crazy about that, and I'm not crazy about it either. I'd like to see some other options, and I don't know what those are. But I do think we have a lot of smart people on the administration who could possibly give us some ideas of some other options.
Mike, you all set?
Yeah, just if they can opt out right now, right, they don't need a hard date, they could apply to Dover and, you know, get out. I don't think there needs to be a hard date, because reading the room, having a shutdown date seems a bit abrupt at this point, because if they can go to Leland and Gray as quick as next week, or Dover, and then apply elsewhere. I can see where it comes from.
There's only, they can only go to Leland and Gray
Yeah.
if we
it shuts
shut the
down,
sixth grade
They can't go
down.
to Dover.
but
They
they can't go to
they
Dover.
can't petition now, so
Gotcha.
if we hire a fifth, sixth grade teacher.
Yep.
Then that loophole
Shuts
that
down.
allows them to go somewhere else is no longer there.
You're right about going to Dover. They could go.
Except
go to
like you could go to Leland and Gray if you wanted to, because you get to tuition your child wherever you want to go. What?
I'm not gonna interpret the law, I'm just not sure if that's accurate.
Well, that's what the attorneys told us, so, and that's what Bob relayed. Correct, Bob? Am I right or wrong?
Yeah. He said the pathway to do what you want to do was a two-step process, and by making it geographically more convenient to go elsewhere, you had to close the sixth grade first.
In the building,
Correct.
because if we close sixth grade for both buildings, it requires a vote of the electorate, because that's changing our charter.
And potentially the State Board of Ed. Yep.
Yeah. Chad, do you all set? Any other comments? Chad, where are you?
Just one, thanks, Rich. You know, as Kate had said, you know, I'm really glad to see the community turn out to really support and become aware. This isn't easy for anybody, you know, most notably the Bovats. And no matter what is decided by this group, as much as we try to please everyone, we know that we are not going to, but we do hope, if I can speak for the board, and if I'm not, I do apologize, but I would hope that the decisions that are made are embraced by the community and supported to the best of all of our abilities to move forward as a community as well.
Thank you. Laura, last comment. Laura?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I thought I heard Dwight say that there were no good options that were presented for the kids.
No, I didn't say that.
No,
Okay, then I misheard. Thank you.
Okay, so many kids have. Okay, well, we'll do the room first and we'll move on. Yes, I told
So I
you.
guess a clarification, I hear a lot of questions being asked. And really, we haven't had a chance to answer any of those questions. They haven't been answered. Is there going to be a time that questions can be addressed?
What question wasn't answered?
A lot of them.
The current state.
Current status,
Chantal had some questions.
yeah. So I'm just curious. I hear a lot of questions and I think that communication is the back and forth too. So I'm just curious, just for clarification, if that's at some point we can have answers to those questions.
Donna, I don't want to put you on the spot because I don't know if you're prepared to answer all those questions. And again, that wasn't what today's discussion was. So technically, we really can't. It's hard to do that because people may want to know what it was about, and we didn't put that on the agenda. The agenda was really to deal with the sixth grade. So we can put that on for Monday's meeting, but again, if we aren't gonna close anything, then that's kind of a moot point too. So.
Or
Yeah,
ask
hang
or
on,
mention.
yeah, no,
or-
hang on a second. Did you have one more?
No, the girl, I was just
Yeah,
saying that.
okay,
He's
I'll
clearing
get
the
to
room
them.
first, but
Yeah,
he's
that's,
gonna-
yeah, he has the
Okay.
answers.
Is it, go ahead, and then anybody else in the room? I thought there was somebody else that had their hand up. Go ahead, yeah,
Okay.
it's your turn.
I'm Thais. I have a sixth grader, here. So I just wanted to use my example a little bit, so maybe it illustrates some potential things that are going on parents' minds. For us, I don't think any of the options would work truthfully, so that means I don't need a decision from the board because I would probably be forced to go private. So just, so I'm not pressing anybody for a decision because unfortunately we looked at choices and it's probably not going to work for us.
Obviously the tuition is a disappointment. I'm still a little confused because of Stratton kids that seem to go to Win Hall.
Because Stratton is a choice town.
Okay,
yeah,
so it's only, so the fact that we don't offer a sixth grade doesn't become a choice for that grade.
No, because
Okay.
the district still has sixth grade. What we did was we
We
didn't close
wouldn't-
sixth grade.
Right.
We were just closing sixth grade in one building. There's not a Wardsboro
Oh,
school
because of
district
Dover.
anymore.
Okay,
and
I'm
there's
sorry.
not-
I
right,
missed that
yeah.
part. Okay, fine. Thank you for
Oh,
clarifying.
that's
So for us personally, it wouldn't work. I don't want to speak to anybody, but I think that might be maybe one more that might also follow similarly. Well, so maybe the date might be influenced by the few parents that want to go together, because I think there are a few of them going to Leland and Gray. Again, everybody's gonna speak for themselves, but maybe, you know, we're only 5, so we might as well look at everybody, what it's in their thoughts. So if somebody wanted to make a petition, do you have to have made that choice a week before? Can't we, that, you know, I guess, maybe if the parents express they're getting ready to make a decision, although I don't want to put any parents in the
So,
spot.
so just.
But maybe they want to hold on here,
so-
and the
so-
reason we ask, let me finish, the reason we ask of the current status is we don't want to go to Leland and Gray necessarily, but depending on the current status and how we feel about that, it might influence how fast we want the decision to be
So,
made.
so that's
Because
what,
we can't compare what we don't know.
so that's what the
That's-
discussion has been all along, that if we make the motion and nobody's found, or there's a different option comes up, we can rescind the motion. The reason we were trying to, and the reason we've had these last 2 weeks special meetings is to have this discussion so the parents have as much time to figure out their options. Because if we don't make the motion, you can't get tuition. So
I
you-
understand.
Right, so if we don't make the motion and we just leave things the way it is right now and nothing changes.
Yeah.
That's it, you don't have a choice to
But
go,
we might prefer that for a little, we might prefer that for a little more time. But if we don't know what's going on right now in their day-to-day, it's very hard to make a decision. If we prefer to keep it as it is right now for 3 weeks or until January 15 or whatever it is. Since we don't, we only know what our kids come home and tell us about the current situation. So it's very hard for us to make a comparison if we should jump the boat now. I mean, I don't want to speak for other people, but
and again, you
this is
could,
how I feel like, how bad is the fire? Do I jump or not? And I don't know. You
or
know,
you're safer in the frying pan. So again, what we've discussed all along is that we can make the motion. You can petition us Monday and say, we want to go to have us tuition to Leland and Gray, say. And then on Wednesday, you can just say, okay, I don't want to do that. That's been the discussion, that, or if we all of a sudden 3 teachers fall out of the sky and they're having to, have mortal combat to figure out who's gonna get the position. Then you can, then we will rescind the motion and your tuition, your tuition petition goes away and what we've set up goes away. Again, and I'll just say it one more time, is we got from the parents at our last regular board meeting that this was a super duper emergency and we wanted answers right away. So we've had meetings to try to get you the best answers we could. You
I
also,
think that was great because we
right.
know now what the choices are. So it did help. It did really help. I'm not complaining.
yeah, no, and I'm trying to explain because not everybody's been at every meeting. So just so that I think everybody's on the same page. You and then I'm gonna go to TV.
I think one thing that's important, imperative to note about last meeting is that the language of that law became available for most folks here, and that changed things.
Right.
Folks were thinking, oh, we could go to Mountain School, and now
Right.
that's no longer an option. So I think that the urgency shifted once we knew what our options were. I don't have a 6th grader, but I think what, from the sounds of things, is it sounds like, the board is responsible for certain things, but the administration is responsible for others. It sounds like the folks in this room need to have a conversation with the administration of this school to find out what things are. We need information from here, rather information that they don't have, it would be the schools. So that is something that we could set up. I certainly have some questions and it sounds like you would be better fit to answer them than they would be.
Okay. I said I was gonna go to TV.
That's fine.
So I'll come to you
Okay, that's
afterwards if you're okay.
Yep.
Everybody who's in here who wants to speak got to speak at least once, correct? I didn't skip over anybody. Okay, Sadie Wheeler, you've had your hand up for a while, so we're gonna go to TV land.
So we are sixth graders from the Dover School, and thinking about the option of Wardsboro coming to Dover School, we have thought about Wardsboro's learning plans, STEAM, and Dover being an IB school, having those two learning plans mixed would not be easy. So if Wardsboro came to Dover, they wouldn't be able to learn IB in the 7 months that we have had 7 years. And same with the other way around with STEAM.
Okay, thank you. There's somebody in TV land, right?
Bob's had his hand up.
Oh, Bob, I'm sorry.
He's on mute. Bob, you're on mute.
He's gone.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Bob.
So what I was gonna say is that that listening to the conversation, it sounds like my two suggestions or my two comments would be, one, having Donna prepare some kind of document or a Q&A or something with her offline of this meeting to talk a little bit about what it looks like now. Sounds like people would love to hear that. And I think that would be important. And then the second thing is the timeline could be modified. I just want to caution you, what I'm nervous about is extending it because we all want to be in Wardsboro as option number one, and we hope the candidates work out, or we hope that if they don't, that the next someone else will come down and it will work out. At some point, the model that they're doing, I mean, they're doing a great job of holding it together, and I give Val and Donna and all the people who are supporting that a ton of credit for that. But I do worry about the longevity of that and how long that can continue before we burn out people for doing multiple subjects across 4 grades as an interim measure. We knew it was an interim measure, and they're happy to do it, and they're working their tails off. But there are things that are maybe not being done the way we want them to be, potentially administratively from Donna's perspective, because she's spending so much time in that classroom, because the kids are coming first. But I just want, that's my caution, that having this be a long lasting thing as an interim measure is maybe not in everyone's best interest. So maybe not extend it too far. Does that help?
Yeah, we actually, we have a note here that we're gonna ask for the presentation at the next meeting from Donna. I just don't want to, I don't like to stick people trying to come up with something that they're not prepared to speak about, because if they misspeak on something, you know, that all of a sudden it becomes that, oh, but that's what was said. So, so that's going to be your guys' charge. And when we do our agenda setting, I'll be one of the first things on it, Bob. Thank you. What was it over here? Yes, I'm sorry.
Lisa Ballantyne, 6th grade parent at Wardsboro. I just want to say that myself and two other parents were the ones that came to the first meeting that was at Dover and said, you know, this is something happening in our school and we want to address the issue. And, you know, we were the ones that set the tone for, you know, how long do we let this happen? Is there a deadline? Should we have a deadline? What is our plan and how do we move forward with this? And we've talked about it, and we've had many meetings about it, and many special meetings about it. And I know that at least the 2 other parents that I came with that night, we feel much better now that we have talked about it, and now that there are some suggestions out there and there are at least plans being put in place. When we came to the first meeting, it was you know, there's a job posting and I don't want to say that, you know, our principal is doing a fabulous job. The staff at Wardsboro is amazing. They're not doing anything wrong. We've had great support from everybody, but we wanted to be able to support them and our children, and they need to be able to do their job. You know, they can't do this much longer. How long do we let them do this? They're doing so much already that they you know, they can't continue. And so it's hard for us parents to be like, you know, yes, before Thanksgiving, we are going to set this date and we are going to shut the 6th grade. It kills me to hear those words because my daughter has been here since pre-K, kindergarten. You know, her best friend, she met here and they have been together since the day they walked into school together. I don't want to shut the 6th grade. I want this miracle teacher to come through. I don't want to have to talk to my daughter about, do you go to Dover? Do we petition the board? Where do we send you? I don't want to have those conversations. So to sit here and say that before Thanksgiving, we're going to pick that date and that's going to be the day that you potentially have to go to a new school is a horrible thing for me to have to do. But in reality, this school, these teachers and this administration cannot keep doing the job of 2 to 3 other people. They cannot keep supporting the jobs that they are doing. And I know that because I walk in the school on a regular basis and they are running in 8 different directions. So it's not fair to ask them to do it. And it's also not fair to ask me to sit and have that conversation with my daughter. So yes, I want a teacher. Yes, I want to push it out as long as I can. But in reality, I need to get my daughter in a space where she has a teacher. We're stuck between a rock and a hard place. I don't want to pick a date. And I think that's how each and every one of us 6th grade parents feel. So I know that now we're looking at you all and we're like, does it have to be that day? Does it have to be that day? And we're pulling back. But in reality, we don't want to pick a date. So it's going to come down to somebody else is going to have to probably pick the date for us because we want a teacher. That's what we really want. And I know you can't magic one up and I know nobody can magic one up, but we want plan A. We know in reality, we might have to go with plan B, but we really want plan A. Yeah. So I'm sorry that we feel more wishy-washy in this meeting, but we've sat with it for a long time and we really want a teacher.
We want plan A for you too. We didn't, well, we never wanted to diverge off the path for anybody this year. This year just sucks and I'm sorry.
Sometimes you just can't get what you want.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
I got somebody on TV. Are you guys all set here?
Yeah.
Dana.
Hey Chief, this is Dana Cerise. I am a Dover mom and a Wardsboro mom. I feel for you guys. I understand. Don't feel bad about being wishy-washy. I think the idea of, I don't want to say like stealing someone from another school, but I'm actually parked in front of Dover right now, and I know that they've got awesome people over here. Not saying that they don't need them, but again, if as we are watching all of our fabulous staff at Wardsboro pull their hair out doing 3 jobs, like I know nobody at Dover is doing that 3 jobs, so maybe somebody can help, and that would be the best thing for the kids because, well, like everybody said, they started there in kindergarten, pre-K, like they've been there. Like it's really crappy the last 8 months of their academic career at that school to be uprooted when maybe we can just throw some money at somebody, make them a great offer, and they can step up. And, you know, hopefully that Tracy can make that happen. Also, I also know that we have teachers from last year that they were looking for over here at Dover. Have we like reached that pool of like candidates that had applied to Dover last year? Again, let's throw some money at them and make a great offer and get these kids the teacher that they need and the support that they need. Thank you.
Thank you, Dana. So we lost a board member, and before I lose more, we've had a lot of discussion. We've had a lot of input. We do have a motion on the floor. We do have a second. Luckily, the person who moved it and seconded has not left. But before we lose more people, are you folks, is the board ready to vote on this?
if we want to amend the dates, do we need to do that before the motion is
Yeah,
passed?
so to change the dates. So let me just do a little clerical issue for everybody. So we've heard some input from parents, so now we have to make a decision. If you decided because of input that maybe we can let this go another week, the correct way to do it is to vote this down. So it's not saying that we don't agree that we would like to do this and give the parents that option to petition. It just says for right now, we're not going to do anything. Okay, it's going to stay status quo. We can amend it. So when you amend a motion, you need a motion to amend and a second. Then we have to have discussion on the amendment, and then we will vote on the amendment. And then if the amendment passes, we go back to the original question with the change, the amendment. And because we don't do this a lot. And if it doesn't pass, then we vote on the original motion. Is everybody clear on that from the board?
Yes.
I don't know if Chad's shaking his head. You good, Chad? We're almost looks frozen. Okay, so we have a motion on the floor and we have a second from the board. Is there any more discussion? Are you ready to vote?
Laura has
I
her hand.
I have a question.
Go ahead, Laura.
So Rich, if we vote this down, the next time that we are scheduled to talk about this would be next Monday. And so does that effectively move the dates forward like a week, all of the things that we're talking about, basically?
Well, it could move it forward a month. It could move it. I mean, we would make a new motion.
Yeah.
If we want to make a motion, or if, what was that movie where the kids built themselves a girlfriend or something? I mean, maybe Donna.
Weird Science.
Science, thank you. Maybe Donna gets into weird science. It is a STEAM school. Maybe they build a teacher. I don't know. Maybe they clone Val. I have no clue. So, I mean, if we vote it down, though, it would put everything off. And then unless we chose to have more special meetings and drag everybody out more and more again for the poor parents that have been here every Monday, I think the parents are going to start having Monday in Wardsboro coffee or something at 3:30.
Just one more question, Richard, which is just reminding me about the date of the motion that if there isn't a teacher hired, we would close the 6th grade on the
If no,
7th?
so here's the motion.
Yeah.
No suitable candidate is found by November 10th, next Friday.
Yeah.
2023, then the Wardsboro 6th grade will be closed for the remainder of the 23-24 school year. And the students will be moved to the Dover building starting 11/27. So there's 2 dates in there. There was some discussion about maybe moving it out to the end of a semester. Maybe the semester,
Okay.
I suggest semester, the schools that they may want to petition to. Again, parents, if we make this motion and stands and the parents petition us for something to get tuition, that doesn't mean they have to do it. It just means that they intend to do it. And so we could do that. And then, so if we were to make this, if we were to discuss this again next Monday, we would just have to set everything back. With the 27th could still be a good date, or maybe we get input between now and then from the parents that, we're good till after Christmas break. But the other people we have to also hear from is the Wardsboro administrator. Is she going to be able to do that till Christmas break or till November break, or is she going to?
Okay. So my question was about just thinking about the consequence of actually voting for this. So if we vote for this, we are still going to meet on November 6th, our regularly scheduled meeting before the November 10th deadline. And so on November 6th, we could hear from the Wardsboro administrator that actually she thinks it's going to be very close and she may be able to get someone the week of the 17th. And we could take an action to reverse what we're doing today.
Correct.
If we were to vote for this. So, yes.
So I haven't spoken a lot about this. I've just kind of answered questions. My sense now is from what we've heard from one parent, and we haven't heard anything different from any other parents, is that they're okay if we don't do it right now. They were glad that we're having these conversations and that we're having good turnout. Maybe I'm putting words in their mouth. So I personally would be good if we voted this motion down, but be prepared to have a longer discussion and also get feedback from the Wardsboro administration and Bob about what the 3-4-5 is going to look like and where we stand. And then we could do this next week and we're still in the same, we could make the same motion, but I think it gives us a little more time. And then again, Dwight's been staying up all night. He hasn't slept for a week trying to figure out a better alternative that he's going to suggest to Donna and Bob. So, and the parents have been doing that. So my suggestion is we should vote this down because I don't think the parents are in that much of a push, and we bring it up again next Monday. I'm glad we had this meeting because there's more information that we can gather to make everybody happier with whatever we do. And it really doesn't change anything.
Okay, so I would say that I think I heard something different actually from Lisa, which is that this is an impossible decision. And that at some point the board is going to have to make a decision.
Right, but I don't think it matters if we make it now or next Monday.
I actually think that it does, because we are running into the holidays. And I think it's important for us to have our to put some more certainty around this and to have our administrators have a sense of where we want to go. I'm really hopeful that we have a suitable candidate. To me, that is the best possible option. But I actually would like Tracy to start thinking. I would like Tracy to start planning. We're going right into the holidays here. And so there's going to be time off. It's just going to become exponentially harder. We can pull back on Monday if necessary, but saying yes, I think, says to our administrators, okay, we need to start thinking. It says to Tracy, please start planning. And it says to Donna, if you need support to make sure that you get, that you get these candidates vetted, as please let us know. Please do so. But, and I may have the minority opinion, and I think there are not awesome choices here. Well, I think this is an unfortunate situation. So I am going to vote yes, and I may go down in flames, but that is why. So there we go.
Thank you. Chad, you good?
Yeah, Rich, again, and Laura, you're absolutely right. And I agree with you 1,000% that this is an unfortunate set of choices that we have to make. As I said before, ultimately, people are going to be disappointed. Not everyone is going to be aces. I think the only way that happens is if this miracle teacher, out of the two candidates we have currently, if there's more, great. I think Bob has done a wonderful job gathering the information about what the law requires and allows. So ultimately, it's going to be to the board to decide what, if sixth grade is going to close, when that's going to be, because the contingency plans are mapped out. And so, Laura, to your point that we want the administrators of both buildings to be able to prepare, I think we know what the preparations would be. I think the girls that spoke up from the Dover school, they made a very valid point that there are two different approaches to learning, but ultimately the content is very, very similar. So, if that means that there is a, sort of a packet as to how things are done in an IB program, great, let's put that together. But ultimately, Rich, as to your point, that the time does not need to be decided upon today, just to recall it, because I'm faithful that the candidates that we have are qualified, and they will do an outstanding job for our community. That's just my hope, thought, feeling, prayer. So moving forward on a date today, to me, does not make an awful lot of sense or as a necessity.
From your lips to God's ears, hopefully. Okay, Dwight. I don't know, Lauren and Chad, if Mike had to leave. He actually had a hard stop at 4:30. He's got some stuff he had to do, but he did stay a little late. You two all set? You all set?
I'm all set.
Okay, so the motion is, if no suitable candidate is found by November 10th, 2023, then the Wardsboro sixth grade will be closed for the remainder of 23-24 school year, and the students will be moved to the Dover building starting 11/27. I will just say one thing, that I think now that we've thrown some dates out there, again, I'm just gonna advocate for people to turn this down, because I think we can have the parents then come back and we can have input from the staff and everybody next week. They know where we're headed. I think everybody's in agreement. This is Plan B. And then we can solidify some dates that work for them. And then parents can have a chance to think about dates and maybe give us some suggestions. And then I know we have to make the hard decision, and that's why, we get the big bucks. But I think that, again, to put it off another week is not gonna hurt anything, because we can make that motion Monday night and still utilize the same deadline, same dates. So I would call for a vote. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed. Thank you, Laura. All those opposed say nay.
Nay.
Okay, Meredith?
She might have had to go to.
Yes.
Okay, listen, we have to do a roll call vote because it's not a unanimous vote, okay?
Okay.
Okay, so I'm calling for, I'm gonna call on your name and tell me how you're voting. Laura?
Yes.
Chad?
Nay.
Dwight?
No.
Kate?
No.
Okay, the chair will go with the majority. So the motion fails to carry. So Bob, is he still with us?
Yes.
I am.
So Bob, between you and Donna, can you just work on a little presentation on if the sixth grade was to be closed in Wardsboro, what the 3, 4, 5 would look like, and what resources we need? And I am sorry that I was under the impression that we had hired a full-time aide. But I mean, are we, if there is people that will need to be hired, I mean, I don't know if an aide's gonna be as hard to hire as a staff member. So if you could work on that for us. Parents, I would love for you to give some feedback to the administration, or send us emails or drop emails off. We're gonna be meeting here next Monday to Donna, just what you think are the appropriate dates that you would like to see. I think you all know where we're gonna try to head to. We're gonna try to head to fill the position. If we can't, I think the best thing we've heard so far, barring a miracle, is to do what, we discussed. And if we do that on Monday night, we can, do whatever dates seem to work best for parents. It's not ideal, and it's just for 1 year. Laura, hang on one sec. Is there anything else people would like to see at next week's meeting that would help them, A, feel more comfortable as a parent, as a staff member, and I'll get to you, Val, or B, as a board member, to help you make a decision on how best to vote?
Yes.
So I'll start with the board. So go ahead, Dwight, and then to you, Laura.
Thanks, Rich. Yeah, this was voted down, and it may very well have been because of the dates, but it also could have been voted down because it's not a viable option for parents. So as I mentioned earlier, I'd like to see from administration another option that maintains the students, sixth grade students in Wardsboro, from the administration, and we can vote on that, or we can discuss that at a future meeting.
You set?
I'm set.
Laura, go ahead.
So two things actually now. The first thing was, I think, and I would love some clarity, that I heard parents actually expressing that they don't really understand what's going on now. And I don't think that that's what you asked Bob and Donna to bring back to the next meeting. What is going on now? And number two.
Yes, we have that, Laura.
What's that?
We have that.
Okay.
Written down.
Okay, great. And number two, I just want to make sure I understood what Dwight just asked for, which is for the administration to come back with, so we asked them to come back with the process for moving forward. And so we want them to come back with something that was not on their list of ways to move forward. Is that correct?
Correct.
If you remember, Dwight, if I can throw it out there, I don't know if you were at the meeting, Dwight suggested that staff from other buildings be brought in to here to augment the 5th and 6th grade. And that was a discussion amongst the administration, and they felt that was really disruptive because now we're not only having a problem in one school, but Bob, you can, and Donna and Tracy, if you can just, have a response to that. I think that's where Dwight was trying to head. And then anything else you can think of.
Before Bob answers that, if that's what Dwight means,
We're not answering it. Dwight, it was already discussed at a previous meeting. So I want Bob just to address it.
So I'd like to be clear what Dwight's request is, Richard. And so if he has a specific request, I would like us to be more specific to give that guidance for our administrators. If he has a very broad request, like we would like something, rack your brains and come up with something else, that I would like to understand that. I just would like to understand the nature of his request.
I'll say it again then. So what I'm suggesting is a different alternative that has not been requested that allows the 6th grade students to remain in Wardsboro.
Okay, so that's very broad. It's not specific, and we're asking the administration basically to go back to the drawing board.
Yeah, not really. Some of those options were already presented at an earlier meeting, and then they were dismissed. I'd like them, they can review those ones that were presented.
Like, could we be specific about that? I don't care. I shouldn't say I don't care. I'm just looking for clarity.
Yeah, it's not, as you mentioned, it's not specific. It's a broker's request.
Well, Rich, may I?
Well, no, let's let Laura finish.
Okay,
Laura,
so my understanding is Dwight is asking very broadly for these administrators to go back to the drawing board and look at other ways, even though other ways that they haven't already considered that would allow the Dover kids to stay in Dover.
Dwight, if I was to say option A for you is still a teacher, if that doesn't happen, instead of option B being closing the 6th grade in Wardsboro, you'd like another option that could keep the 6th grade open in Wardsboro. Is that correct?
That sounds right.
How's that, Laura?
It's fine. I mean, whatever the request is, the request is. I just want to make sure our administrators have enough information to move forward. They brought us forward, I think, 9, 10 proposals, 5 of which were not legal. So 12, so half of them weren't legal. So we're asking them to find 13, 14, 15, potentially.
He's asking if there's another way, another option available to keep the 6th graders in the Wardsboro building if we can't hire a teacher.
On top of the 12 that have been presented.
Another.
12. I remember 4.
Bob, do you remember our beginning list?
Yeah, and we're not going to go through it again because we're losing people left and right. So
I think my
yeah,
question is pretty simple. Yes,
right.
thank you.
I think it's Laura. I think we all understand. Bob, do you not understand the request?
I don't understand.
The request is there another option out there
besides the 12
that can keep the 6th
I don't
graders?
up with 12, Laura. There were 4. None of them were discussed in great detail.
We had 9 originally, and then we took 5 off the plate because of legality, and then we talked about 4 of them in open session.
You must have talked about somewhere else.
And there may be other options they haven't thought of. I mean, if you go by our first meeting, the tuitioning wasn't allowed. So, there may be something that strikes somebody. I don't know what it is, but we'll ask them if they have something that comes up, they can bring it to us.
And other stakeholders too.
Right. And if there's nothing and they come back and said, we've racked our brains, we put our heads in the ringers and nothing came out.
Okay, that's fine. And so then Dwight is not asking for us to review one of the 12 options that have already been presented. He is asking for a new option, right?
No, maybe they go back and look at the other ones and see something that they missed. We're giving them just to come back, and if there's something else out there, Laura, And again, that can be discussed at the next meeting,
Okay.
okay? Just go ahead, Chad.
No, I mean, I was just gonna try to help clarify, and that, yeah, option A, obviously hire certified teacher to fill that classroom for the remainder of the year. Option B, what, or maybe 1A, is it, as it has already been concerned, or considered, again, because I have missed a couple meetings as well because of the timing, but what else, is there any other possible way to keep the 6th grade, 5th grade classroom open even without a certified teacher to replace Sam Bovat? So yes, if that means reviewing what has already been discussed and possibly the idea of, well, let's see, 2 paras, to 1, what can lighten load, what can allow Donna to carry out the administrative duties, and Valerie not to get burned out in the 3rd, 4th, 5th grade classroom. So, I just feel like we've muddied the waters by asking for specific versus vagueness, when we're just really looking to further discuss any possible option, to be able to have the 6th grade class finish out their elementary years in their own elementary school. So I think we're ready to move on.
Thank you, sir. You all set? You all set? Val left. No, Val. Val.
We kept her.
He's so moved.
Did you want to say something? I said I'd get to you after.
She was putting her,
Questions?
no,
Oh.
she didn't.
I
put her
wondered
hand up.
why
She
you
was
were
resting.
coming back to me because I wasn't trying to get your. Sorry, I was fidgeting. I don't
Okay.
sit still.
You
well.
good? You folks all set? Everybody good? Everybody in TV land good? I'll look for that motion.
I'll make motion to adjourn at 5:08 PM.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Hi.
Okay,